And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Brad, and he's going to talk us through some case studies.
Thanks, Daryl. Great material there. I'd like to share a few specific case studies. We do site-specific market studies in markets all around the country, and we look at the supply-demand situation, who the market audience is, and we forecast and track the lease rates and project the time to lease up. So let me talk about this one first, Mills Creek. It's a good one to show because it has gone all the way through the process, through lease up and sale. It's only 67 units, but it still has a nice set of community amenities. And this is part of the strategic decision making. There's no simple rule of thumb. Sometimes it makes sense to build an amenity with only 70 units, and sometimes it makes sense to do 120 units with no amenity. It's case by case. This development performed very well. The only downside was the developer struggled to keep up with demand, unable to build houses as fast as the renters were coming in the door, so to speak. Anyway, they sold the entire asset to another group and went on to the next deal. The deal sold for $28 million. This is a development that is an example of that horizontal multifamily, and probably the quintessential example of it being that it's the Avila type community from Next Metro. I'll quickly run through this. This one is located in Surprise, Arizona, but they're now expanding every place else, including to Florida now with this kind of community. This one has 127 homes. This type of community does justify a solid community amenity, as you can see there. But what I want to draw your attention to is over on the right-hand side, and that's the rental rates. When they did their pro forma, they told me that they had projected $1,310 for the average rent. And that came out to $1.36 a square foot. By the time they actually came to market and started leasing, those units were at $1,500, $1.57 a square foot. And then by the end of leasing, they were at $1,630, $1.70 a square foot. And that is a pretty common story. I'm hearing that from a lot of participants in the market, that they have exceeded their pro forma. And of course, that's been partly what's attracted all this interest. Now, these next three slides are where I'll touch on the strategic thinking that I personally do in site analysis when I look at a site. These are from actual studies we did. In this first one, done for the investor operator, I looked at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Next to the subject site and throughout the entire market, AMH, also known as American Homes for Rent, they're the 900-pound gorilla. They're active and in this market where this study was done. So my advice to the operator was to differentiate, claim the high ground, go above AMH in terms of the level of finishes and quality, and also in terms of the amenity. And in this case, they had a spectacular site next to a natural area, so they were going to be able to use that to leverage the lifestyle there. Now, here's another different type of exhibit. Here, I sort of triangulate. So what I do is I take a look at, first of all, what it would cost somebody to own a home in the area. Now, here I took some examples from a Florida study. So these are 4 of the communities where somebody could buy a home. The blue bar shows how much they would pay per month, not just PITI and not just the HOA dues and the CDD fees, but also cost of maintenance. You also always have to remember the cost of maintenance when you do this analysis. So then I slot in the other alternatives that people have. So here we see the shadow supply, which is the SFR, single family rentals in the area, and the range of rents on those, and then the rents on the 3-bedroom apartments in the area. So using that, you can triangulate and say, okay, this is a pretty good support for the rental rates at the subject property. Another way to look at the competition is with what we call our PPM, which is the price positioning matrix. And here we look at all of the different alternatives together. So there's the townhomes, the single family for rent, the multifamily rentals, and then we sort of kind of analyze them in chunks or pieces. So here we take the multifamily chunk, and then over here, these are the single family rentals that are nearby the subject site. And then with that triangulation that I talked about, we come up with here's where you can be in terms of your rents. And then if we also look at some of the SFR that are closer into the city that can command a higher rent. Now, I talked about AMH, American Homes for Rent, and this next case study is one of their communities. This is in Gwinnett County, which is in the Atlanta market. This is a subdivision of full-size single-family homes by American Homes for Rent. They really started in the SFR business and later got into the BFR, Built for Rent business. Poco Kelly is in Gwinnett County. They are leasing well in the range of $1,500 to $2,000 per month. This community of 52 units has no community amenities. They do have lawn care front and back, but no clubhouse. So basically, you're getting 4 walls, a yard, and a garage. And those are really important features when it comes to somebody that's considering this versus an apartment. And also remember, the square footage of the garage isn't included in the for sale culture when you think about what the rent per square foot is and so on. But in the for rent culture, the garage is absolutely counted by the renters. Now, their costs came in within 3% of pro forma. They know this market very well. And everywhere they are, they know how to optimize things. At American Homes for Rent, they tend to come in pretty affordable, often close to $1 a square foot, as they do here. But as I showed in my previous case studies, you can get well over $1.30, $1.50 a square foot, sometimes close to $2 a square foot with a different kind of product than this. The market due diligence can be complex, by the way. Sometimes there are no comps. In our studies, we actually use 5 different reference points to arrive at pricing. Sometimes people say we triangulate, but really if there are 5 points, I guess that means we, pentangulate? Or if there are no BFR comps, then we quadrangulate. But let's look at some deals that are a bit more bite-sized and townhome oriented, just to kind of round out the sample here. This is a case study of a planned rental townhome deal in the Charlotte, North Carolina MSA in a submarket called Indian Trails. That's in Union County, which has a very strong population growth rate. It's for the renter that doesn't want to live in a big city, but wants to be near a big city. It's a small deal with 41 townhomes still in the planning stages. A Charlotte builder called H&H is building all the townhouses and selling them as the buildings get finished to an investor operator. Rents are projected to come in at $1.27 a square foot on the 3-bedroom units and $1.42 per square foot on the 2-bedroom units. The expense load comes in at an estimated 35%, which is fairly typical. All that leads to a calculation of a 5.8% cap rate. And that's a cap rate that's attractive to a buyer for a deal of this type, where the builder developer took on the entitlement and development risk and is just serving up finished homes. This deal was brokered by Adam Stern of Strata SFR, so hat tip to Adam. The next example is from the Greenville, South Carolina market. This deal is a little larger than the last one with 94 units. Future planned townhomes in Greenville. Product will be 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom units with an emphasis on the larger units, which is the way the market demand is trending. I think this will respond very well to what renters want. The cost per lot was reasonable at $44,000 all in. This is estimated as having a 6.2% cap rate. The buyer of the site is entitling and developing the land and hiring a builder who will build on a fee basis and deliver the homes immediately upon CO.